Mummy, you have to come and see this. You have to, like, this massive urgency dragged me over. Mummy, look. And I just saw this really small juvenile leopard shark. So I see this and just think, oh no, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about it? She's dragging my hand saying, Mummy, we have to do something about this. And they are classified as endangered globally.
Welcome to Wild Development Studio. Join us as we venture into the breathtaking realm of wildlife arts and untamed adventures. With captivating stories from the field and ideas to dive into the visual arts, we'll ignite your passion for conservation. Get ready to develop something wild.
Welcome to Wild Development's podcast, where we reconnect with nature through stories of wildlife, art, and adventure. I am your guide, Lauren, and today we are diving into the deep blue to celebrate Shark Week. Sharks. Just the mention of the word can send shivers down the spine, conjuring up images of fearsome predators lurking beneath the waves. But are these magnificent creatures really the villains of the sea, or have they been unfairly cast in the role of the bad guy? Today we are setting the record straight and dispelling the myth that sharks are bad. In fact, a world without sharks should be what we fear most. Today I have Liz Ward-Singh on the show, where we explore the truth about these incredible animals, uncover the vital role that they play in our oceans, and will debunk some common misconceptions. Liz is a co-director at Shark Guardian. She is from the UK and is a qualified physiotherapist and scuba diving instructor with over 2,000 dives. Liz has a great passion for sharks and conservation. She enjoys getting involved with Shark Guardian events and presentations, and she is the main point of contact for arranging events at schools and public locations. Shark Guardian is a UK charity founded by professional divers, shark researchers, and educators Brandon Singh and Elizabeth Ward-Singh. Although Shark Guardian is a UK charity, Shark Guardian campaigns and activities take place worldwide, including the United Kingdom, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Their objective is to advocate the conservation of sharks in the natural environment through education, research projects, and expeditions. Liz, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to chat to you, my love.
That's right. It's been so long. And I know you started Shark Guardian with your husband. Before we get into all that, what was your journey like before Shark Guardian?
So before Shark Guardian, I'm a physiotherapist by trade. I went to school, went to college, university, did the whole thing, became a physiotherapist. I was massively into sports, still am. So became a physiotherapist, enjoyed my job, but got to a point where I was just like working all these long hours. Just fed up being inside all the time. So I decided to ditch the job and go traveling the world. And that was in 2007. And I fell in love with scuba diving on that trip. Led me to meet the guy who would become my husband on the island that I'm now living on again, which is really funny how things can do full circle. But yeah, when I first met Brendan, he was talking all about sharks and all these exciting things. And Shark Guardian, that's a very short story, happened off the back of that, really. So I know we'll get into more details of that. But yeah, I was a physiotherapist, health and wellness, traveled the world, and just had my eyes open to what else was out there, not just from an ocean environmental nature point of view. I traveled to Australia, so I saw, the outback. I was in America. I traveled across state in a train and saw the terrain changing. And then in Thailand, I was living with hill tribes up in the north of Thailand and learning about alternative healing and medicines and things. So that aligned with my health side. But then, started doing lots of diving and thought, how do I get paid to dive rather than paying all this money to dive all around the world? So that's when I ended up becoming a dive professional in 2008 or 9. I became a dive master initially.
Yeah, it is quite an expensive hobby if you're not in the field. And even then, it's a labor of love because it does not pay a lot. Now, when you started diving, did you have a love for sharks already? Were you afraid of them? Were you kind of indifferent? What was the story there?
Well, I first saw a shark when I first went snorkeling, and that was earlier when I very first went to Australia. That was in 1999. Actually, at the end of my physiotherapy course, I was able to do an elective placement in Australia. We were basically told you can do finish your course by doing another module from physiotherapy. Maybe there's an area or a speciality that you want to learn more about. Maybe there's something that you want to be better at. So, or they said, you can go somewhere abroad and do something cool. So we had a connection. Me and my friend went off to Australia, worked in an abattoir and with Aussie rules football, and didn't really do that much work, to be honest. We were just living the life. And after that, we traveled, and there was a place on the west coast of Australia. Is it the east coast? I can't remember where exactly. Went snorkeling. The first time I put my head under the, oh no, I've mixed up two stories here. That was the first time I snorkeled and put my head under the water and was just blown away by I remember almost hyperventilating the first time I put my head underwater and saw the coral and the fish. Like it was literally putting your head in an aquarium and just going, oh my God, I think that kind of sealed my connection to the ocean. It was on the other trip in 2007. I went snorkeling on the west coast of Australia, and a friend had come back and said, oh, I just saw a black tip reef shark. I was like, what? You saw a shark? Just snorkeling? It's like, yeah, if you just go snorkeling in that kind of area, you'll probably see a shark. And there's me, my heart was pumping, but like, yeah, I want to see this. And I remember seeing just suddenly, that's a shark. And it was small, maybe about a meter. And I just remember thinking, wow, how beautiful it is. Just the sleek lines and just that vivid, the face, the head, the mouth. And like, that's not scary. That's just beautiful. And I went back and told the others, and we kept going out and looking. And that sparked my curiosity, I think, of sharks. It again, cemented. And even now, it's beautiful now actually reflecting on that, because I forgot those things. And when you think back of how far I've come now and what we're actually doing, and literally on Friday, we were taking kids to see their first shark experiences here in Thailand. And that saying, wow, they are cool, they are cute, they are amazing, versus what the media portrays them. Such an important thing to share.
That really is. It's like you're coming full circle and sharing that experience with other kids so they have a lifelong love of sharks. And
Absolutely.
what sparked that desire in you guys to start Shark Guardian?
Yeah, so I mean, Brendan, my husband, is the kind of drive behind it all. He was on Koh Lanta way before I ever got here. He had been working here for more than 10 years before I got to Koh Lanta. And again, we've not been here the whole time. So he studied sharks in South Africa. He's from South Africa. He studied sharks, but left, didn't want to work in research, wanted to just see the world and become a dive professional, become a dive bum. He even admits that. Back in 2001, 2002, he was already working in Turkey and then ended up in Thailand. So because of his background, when he taught people to dive, he was always sharing, going beyond the normal level, going above and beyond, sharing his extra knowledge. And other people used to tell me that if they're on the dive boat and, it's a big, the boats here generally are big double dive boats. People would be downstairs and going, where is everybody? Where's everybody gone? And someone would go, oh, is Brendan on the boat today? Go, yeah, he's probably upstairs chatting to the guests about sharks. And people would go upstairs and he'd be there and just chatting, just sharing his knowledge and his love about South Africa, about the misunderstanding of sharks, and just sharing some cool facts. So off the back of that, I think it was a resort owner who said, why don't you come in? Why don't you do a little presentation? Why don't you make this into an actual thing? So we started to do that a few times. And when we got together, he just started to do that. And so that was back in 2009, I think it was, when I came to join him on the island. And I saw, again, we advertised and made this quite big event, and it was quite unique. So lots of people came, and this room was packed. And it was the first time I had seen him in action and actually seen all the facts together and the pictures and things. And it was just, even somebody who was a diver and was quite experienced at that point, and others who were very experienced, they were like, wow, there's so much we don't know. Like, you think you've got to talk to the average person to tell them what was happening. At this point, people were already talking about shark fin soup and the decline of sharks in the oceans. Rod Stewart's Shark Water came out in 2007. So this was a couple of years off the back of that. And he was showing a bit of the footage. And suddenly everyone was like, what the heck is going on? And nobody knows about this because it's under the ocean. And at the same time, so that kind of started the ball rolling. And he'd been meeting guests on the boat who were school teachers in Bangkok and were saying, please, can you bring this education into our schools? So we made it into the official thing, and we went to, I think 2010, we first went to schools in Bangkok, about 4 or 5 schools, all off our own back. We paid for our bus, we were slumming it, bus ticket, staying on the rooms of friends, doing whatever we could to get and share this information. I mean, and from there, it snowballed because people saw the potential. And this was just Brendan doing the presentations at that point. At the same time, we were witnessing on a daily basis the decline in shark numbers in the oceans here off Koh Lantos around Koh Phi Phi, near Phuket. And everyone, there was this vibe of, wow, each season or even within a season, we're not seeing as many sharks, like the leopard shark, or we call them zebra sharks. It's different to the small leopard sharks you get in the States. The beautiful with the long tail, actually called zebra sharks. Back in 2004, 5, 6, Brendan said you would see leopard sharks on every single dive. Like, you're guaranteed, you briefed it because you knew you were going to see them. And it got to the point, 2009, 10, you were lucky if you saw one shark a whole season. That's a big change. So off the back of that, and then we went to work in Indonesia in 2010. Same thing. We were just not seeing sharks. We were speaking to guests. We're not seeing sharks. And we were like, we need to do something about this. And we were doing, at that point, so we were in North Sulawesi. Every week, we started to do presentations together at this point in the bar, end of the week, just with our guests in the resort. And we would share the presentation. And that's how it became Shark Guardian, because it was us together with our different unique styles, sharing our experiences and actually sharing what we had witnessed and were witnessing. And we were like, we're going to have to do something about this. We got more contacts like from Hong Kong and Brunei, like people were starting to approach us. So 2013, I think we'd left our job in 2012 and then started to go into schools. 2013, we said, let's make it an official charity so that when we are approaching schools, we have this element of credibility behind us. So we're not just another NGO. At that point, there was a lot of conservation NGOs turning up. They didn't all have the right intentions. I don't believe not all charities have the right intentions, depending on who is financing them. And this is the thing why we've continued or always done this off our own back, because we've said we are shark conservation for divers, by divers. We don't want to be influenced by any big global corporate, even though that might have meant we could have done more and achieved more, but we always wanted the same ethos because of what we'd come from. And I think that just made us more relatable from the start, because we knew what we were talking about and we'd seen it and we're sharing it firsthand. So yeah, 2013, we became a charity, and here we still are.
That's fantastic. And you even have some junior shark guardians in your family, right?
Yeah. The first shark guardian came along in 2015. So she, we have photographs of going into schools. Like there was one school that I just left her with like the librarian in her little place while we went and did the presentation. So at that point, Brendan started to do a few more by himself, or he would go off traveling by himself. But we certainly traveled a lot still in the first few years. We went up to Bali and Dubai, and, Olivia came with us. And then, Mariella came a few years later. So as soon as they were big enough, well, from birth, they were being dunked in the ocean. They were water babies from birth. I mean, I was snorkeling whilst pregnant with both of them and seeing sharks. And also, I remember going to Komodo, being pregnant with Olivia, and seeing more from the surface than some of the divers saw on certain dives. Like, I was spotting all these nurse sharks and reef sharks and manta rays even. So, energetically, my children were just mermaids from the start for sure.
They were born into it. And one of them, I believe it was one of your girls, recently helped save a zebra shark.
Yeah, that's super beautiful. So they've been immersed in it. They've been watching the presentations from a start. Olivia, so she's 9. She could, well, she does. I hear her talking to her friends about sharks. I hear her talking to, and again, it's not just sharks because sharks are apex predators. They control the balance of our oceans. Take sharks away, and it just kind of throws off balance everything below in that food chain because it's so intricately linked together. So she's been learning about it from the start, and she can recognize sharks. She can talk the talk if someone says that they're scared of them. She does it in a very compassionate way, actually. So we'd just before Christmas, we'd been with some new friends here on Atlanta. We'd been on an exploratory day, and we ended up in our local town, and we were hot, thirsty, and hungry. So the choice of restaurant wasn't a key factor in this thing that we ended up. I didn't even actually notice it was quite a seafood restaurant, but all along the front in our local time on the seafront, they are seafood restaurants. And I'm just saying that because we normally wouldn't spend time in a seafood restaurant, but in Thailand, most of them serve seafood anyway. We don't choose to eat seafood. So we were in this restaurant, and the girls went out to the front, and it turned out there was a little pen, as you get, these crappy little mesh pens where there's, lobster, and there's the different ones for lobster and crayfish, and then there's fish and things. And I hate that kind of thing, but we'd already sat down and had ordered by this point. Olivia comes running over. Mummy, you have to come and see this. You have to, like, this massive urgency. Dragged me over. Mummy, look. And I just saw this really small juvenile leopard shark, zebra shark. And I was like, oh no, oh my gosh. Like, to see that in the wild, so to speak. I do that with inverted commas because you can see these in aquariums. Zebra sharks do breed quite well in aquariums, and this is how they are able to repopulate. I actually saw the other day there's a release program through breeding leopard sharks in aquariums in Raja Ampat that's about to start to try and reintroduce the species that's been totally wiped out there. That historically there was lots of them. So I see this and just think, oh no, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about it? She's dragging my hand saying, Mummy, we have to do something about this. And they are classified as endangered globally, especially because in Asia particularly, they've more or less been wiped out. So we started this process of speaking to the owners. It was a bit of a lengthy process. You can't just say, let's have the shark, let's take it away. It turned out that they had paid a fisherman 5,000 baht, so about 150 pounds. So that's probably around 200 or so dollars, if I'm right. I'm not sure the conversion, but just to give you an idea. But quite early on, it seemed they were quite keen for us to take it away, to get rid of. Like, you could see they were nice people. I don't know the full intention of why they bought the shark. They said the fisherman had it and offered it to them. Maybe they saw it as an attraction for bringing people into the restaurant. I don't think they had intentions to eat it, as a lot of restaurants would within this country. You're not seeing commonly, but shark steak is featured on menus, especially in Phuket. And so we started to think about, well, how do we do this? Take it out on the boat. And by this point, we're 2 or 3 months down the line. It's a lengthy process. We didn't want to pay for it to start like a cycle that's we've seen happen in other places. But they were just like, you can take it. And we're talking about taking it out on the dive boat, which is a good hour and a half. Actually, on a slow boat, you would probably have to do it. It can be up to 2 hours to the local reefs. And Brendan was like, look, the mangroves are over there. This is still a juvenile shark. Let's just let it go. Let's just let it go into the ocean. Yeah, it's a boat. This is where the boats go. But literally 100 meters, there are mangroves. That's where these juvenile species live. And they are so evolutionary advance with regards their tracking systems, their sensory systems to know where they need to go. To be honest, if we let it go, it's going to have a better chance of survival than living in this it's like a 3 meter by 3 meter mesh thing that dips at the bottom. So, the circumference, the space it had to actually move around was absolutely tiny. So we rallied some of the world school communities. We schooling families, so other families that are living here that are, that move around to different countries. We did a little presentation. We had the owners there. And we literally guided it out into the ocean. And it was one of the most beautiful things because it just swam off. And we shared with everyone why we did that and why we didn't. Because putting it in a box or container and the journey out to a further distance reef, that would have traumatized it. That might have killed it in itself because it had already been living in such a small confinement. So our hope would be that it swam off to the mangrove, learned what it was supposed to do as a juvenile, and has a lovely life. We don't know, but we feel that was the better of the situation. And all thanks to Olivia, and she was there and helped us guide it out. And actually, we were bringing people down to the pen one at a time because it was down below the restaurant. And she was there pointing it out, and there were other fish and creatures within the pen, and we were educating them. So it was, yeah, she wants to be a marine biologist and a vet.
She's
and
got
that's
a great foundation for it. That must have been a really proud mom moment for you, having Olivia do that. Is she still like over the moon over the whole experience?
Oh, for sure. And it just shows the passion. It just shows they are capable of so much more. Our children, the next generation, they are capable of so much more than we could ever give them credit for. And we have to support that and nourish that, and living in an environment like this. I mean, certainly we get to nurture that. She is somebody who will rescue absolutely everything. We've had we have cats, so sometimes we've had injured birds, geckos, whatever that we've rescued from the cats, and we've nursed them back to health. They don't always survive. We have all sorts of critters out in the jungle around us, so we're learning about these things all the time, but there's often a box with a gecko or something inside that she's looking about, and getting that hands-on connection is so amazing. And yeah, we're all capable of so much more, but certainly the children, there's a reason we were born at this time. There's certainly a reason our children were born right now, because they're gonna have to tidy up the messes that we humans have created.
Yeah, we've got quite a big mess to clean up, that's for sure. And sharks in particular, they're portrayed as this big, scary, mindless, man-eating monster. And as we're recording this in May, it's going to air during Shark Week, and it capitalizes, I feel, a lot on fear and drama because that's what sells. However, that's not what sharks are like. Can you dispel the myth for us and why we should be at peace with sharks?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what the movies and media do. And that was always our intention, was to expose that with our presentations. I mean, Jaws was made in 1975. We share this all the time. It's before myself and Brendan were born yet. We grew up with that movie and that fear instilled into us. And it's actually the parents, we can be at a swimming pool or at the beach here in Thailand, and we hear the parent making and we're going, watch out, there's a shark coming, for their little kids. Like 1975, guys, you're still replaying that narrative. It's like it's time for it to change. And I think with the evolution of technology, and drones are a beautiful thing, and you do your drone stuff, don't you? I don't know what you'd call your drone expert. This footage, the footage that we are seeing of people paddleboarding or surfing, all these things, when you can see great white sharks and other sharks within that vicinity, even coming up to and checking out those people and going away, like, we have to share the truth that for millions of years, well, if you talk about for hundreds of years, with humans have been coexisting in the oceans. This is what we have to learn to do, is to coexist. It is their environment. The drones are showing that that is happening. It is happening all the time. Those creatures that are potentially dangerous, I'm going to say, you know, they're still wild creatures, but we are not their food source. Look at what they actually eat. Accidents occasionally happen, but they are not wanting to, they're not hunting, they're not looking for humans. They are looking for seals and turtles and things. They might come up and see somebody on a surfboard or paddleboard in a curious fashion, and they use their amazing sensors to decide if it is something they want to have interaction with. And 9 times, you know, I was going to say 99.9999%, they're coming up and checking and just swimming away. I think that's such a beautiful thing. But they are portrayed as these monsters, and it's because when attacks happen or deaths happen, it is blown up and sensationalized on such a crazy level that that's what people remember. So again, we share the facts that it's between 2 and 13 deaths from shark attacks per year, the most it's ever been in 1 year, and this is in records that's almost 500 years old. The most it's ever been in 1 year was 13. There was a really bad year when stuff was going on in Australia or something, and who knows the reason for that. The average is 2, and we're talking globally. And they don't share the reasoning behind. The other thing is when you get an attack classified as well. So, for example, there's been attacks when it's been a fisherman pulling a shark out the water on a hook, and that shark has lashed out at it and it's got injured. That's classed as an attack. You know, come on, whose fault is that?
Mm-hmm.
The actual deaths that have happened are so rare. But you think about the populations, you think about how many people are in the water each day, swimming, diving, kayaking, surfing, you know, and occasionally attacks have happened that people have said, yeah, there was a warning flag out. I shouldn't have been in the water when I'd been warned that there was great whites or bull sharks. You know, bull sharks are able to swim in fresh water as well as salt water. They sometimes hang out in estuaries. You know, sometimes people have gone swimming or surfing, again, when they've been told not to. And attacks have happened. There's been attacks, and I think was there a death a few years ago in Egypt, and there was a lot of chumming, or there was restaurants that were dumping their fish carcasses in the oceans that was close to shore. You know, it's like there's, when those attacks or deaths are broken down, there's normally factors that could have been avoided. But accidents happen. We share the statistics, and it's particularly interesting or funny here in Asia. So, you know, for sharks, it's between 2 and 14 each year. Again, the average is like, you know, so super low. 150 people die each year from falling coconuts in Southeast Asia. like, you know, you wouldn't not walk out and about in Asia for fear that you're going to get donked on the head with a coconut.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole list. You'll know this yourself, Lauren. You know, vending machines, cows, selfies. I don't even know. I imagine they can't even get the actual number of people that die each year from selfies, because people do crazy, stupid things to get that shot or video for social media. Yeah, you know, sharks are still portrayed as this monster. And this is one of the big things after our presentations. People walk away and go, huh, yeah, I'm gonna reframe that. And it's because at the same time they learn about that they're not as scary and dangerous as they're made out. And at the same time, they realize, or they learn how important they are for our ecosystems and for our survival.
I used to dive at an aquarium, and my job was to talk to guests about sharks all the time. And my favorite statistic was you're more likely to get struck by lightning than you are to get bit by a shark. Well, a year after I quit that job, I was on the beach and I got struck by lightning. And now I can say you are definitely more likely to get struck by lightning than ever get bit by a shark, because I still have all my fingers and toes. But
and that's the other thing we share, and it's wonderful. You know, I go in and say I've got probably around 2,000 dives. I stopped counting around 1,000. Brendan has like almost 9,000 dives, and it's like hey, we're still here with all our fingers, with all our limbs,
Mhm.
and we cannot describe a scary shark experience. We can only share amazing experiences, and that is getting up close and personal with different sharks. Sharks that do come and are curious. Like, it's an amazing experience, and it's not a scary experience in any way.
So what has been your favorite shark experience?
There's two really. I mean, there's pre doing all this. So after I'd first been traveling and I got into diving, I went on a liveaboard trip to Egypt with a very good friend. And we were just a bit bored with the diving that we'd been doing. And there was this one dive, and Egypt's great for diving. We just didn't have the bad experience that year, so I do need to go back. We decided to swim out into the blue to see what we could find. And I was facing one way, and my friend was looking towards me. And she said she just saw my eyes widen because there was this huge oceanic white tip shark that just appeared. And they're known for being quite playful, and they're on the potentially dangerous list because they have bigger teeth, and they're big scavengers. And it just kind of came. She saw my eyes and then turned and saw it, and it just like swam around us 4 or 5 times and then just swam away. And we just kind of looked at each other and we're like breathing heavily. And it was like, this was way before I understood or knew what I knew about sharks. So that's like the most memorable, but also diving in South Africa and Aliwal Shoal, the raggies, we call them raggies, they're ragged tooth sharks, or known as sand tiger sharks.
Mhm.
You see them in the aquarium. They've got long pointy noses and the kind of the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the teeth that are just kind of exposed, aren't they? And they just kind of float by really slowly. So at certain points of the year, the females go and congregate in Aliwal Shoal for mating. The males then start to come in, and there's a lot of surge going on. So you're kind of moving from side to side and you have to navigate how you move forward. And I ended up just in this basin with probably 20 of these sharks. And just, I didn't intentionally swim into where they were. It was just I was kind of carried there, and again just had to just hang out, and they would just kind of come. We're talking within a meter or so. Some of these sharks would come in, and they're up to 4 or 5 meters long, and they're coming quite close, and the eye's just there, and you just stay calm. There's the eye contact, and the main thing is to stay calm, no sudden movements. And I'm just like hanging out with them, and there's some beautiful videos of me doing this. And I think that just being at one with the ocean and everything that's going on at that point was just such an amazing experience, that it's amazing that I can now share that with others as well.
It's beautiful. What are some things that we can do to help with shark conservation, whether we are living inland, far, far away from the ocean, or we are on vacation and we're in the ocean? What are some things we can do every day, help improve their future?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying, do not buy or consume any shark related products. I'm sure people know not to eat shark fin soup or shark steak, but it's out there. And also increase your knowledge about what shark is used in that you don't realize. So head to our website. There's something called squalene, that's shark liver oil, that's used in some beauty products still. So just check that that's not on the list. There are, synthetic substances to replace that. And fish and chips, it's rock salmon, flake is something in Australia that they say it's flake, or it's labeled as rock salmon, but they are species of sharks. They are small dogfish sharks. So just check that there's not false advertising with your seafood, with your fish and chips, with your beauty products, even pet food. It's not always labeled correctly. So just check, because those things are still fueling sharks being killed. Especially shark fin soup, that's a whole topic under itself. But, make the education, so make your friends and family know as well. You might have Chinese linked family. Brendan's half Chinese. We have family who historically did eat shark fin soup. You need to make them know why we shouldn't be eating it, because it's such a brutal practice of killing the sharks to fuel the shark fin trade. And this is what's been beautiful going in schools. The kids have been presented to shark fin soup at banquets, like birthdays, weddings. It's traditionally been used to show wealth if you can have the right information, they can change what they're doing. You know, that there are changes, there are fake substitutes that can be used. It's a slow process that, but we have had success of children stopping parents serving shark fin at weddings and things. But I think that the education is key. Get yourself educated, get people learning and liking sharks more than they do, to give them a better press. They're not cute and cuddly like dolphins and elephants that are out there, you know, that are there. So just following organizations like ours, sharing our posts to educate others, you know, we strive to do that. And if you're a snorkeler or diver or just like to get in the water, go and support conservation efforts or just eco-tourism. There are places where you can go on boats, like us going and taking people snorkeling to see the sharks. If you're a diver, you know, support our expeditions. We just announced our amazing new expedition to Galapagos. Did you see it? We're doing it.
Scheming on how I can go, because that's closer to my neck of the woods. I'm like, I could actually live in person. This would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you know, and you know, and dive and snorkel with people who are going to share the education and the research, you know, support what you're doing. The ripple effect of that is absolutely massive. And organizations like ours rely on that kind of interaction. So yeah. Oh, it'd be amazing to have you with us. That's just top of the bucket list trip, Galapagos. You know, and again, next in the Philippines, I'm taking a few divers there. So you get into dive like you would normally, but getting the extra education that then you can pass that on to others. And that's what it's about, spreading the word. That's what we've done from the start.
And then where can people find you so that they could go on these trips?
Yeah, so our website, www.sharkguardian.org. If you just put Shark Guardian in your search engine, it will come up. So we have a website. We're on all social media as well as Shark Guardian. So there's links that you can click to join. If you go on our website, there are free resources. There's like posters that you can download. You can subscribe to our newsletter so you get up-to-date information. And then if we are involved in any kind of campaigns, like petitions, writing letters to MPs, we will put it on there and you will get notified. So little things like that, you know, petitions do work. That's how we ended up getting the UK to ban the import and export of shark fin. You know, it was still happening. And last year, officially, the law changed. So together we are stronger. Our voices can be heard. We allow the information to be shared with you, and then you can take the action simply. So they're the simplest things you can do.
Fantastic. And we have just about a minute left. Before we go, what's one way that people can connect with nature?
Just get out there. Just take steps, you know, have something in your mind, like every week I'm going to do something new. So go to a new place, go do a new walk, go to a new park. You know, if you're not near the beach, there is somewhere nature nearby that you connected to. Go experience it, see it, write about it, get your shoes off if you can, go barefoot, get your hands in it. That's the main thing, because we came from nature, we are nature, and we just need to be absorbing it more than we are. Get out the city, get out your home, get away from the screens, connect and watch the magic unfold.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And until next time, get outside and see what develops.
Thanks for joining Wild Development Studio. We hope this exploration into the world of wildlife arts and adventure has sparked a desire to get outside and connect with something wild. If you have an adventure that's awe-inspiring, don't hesitate to share. Click the link in the description to submit your story to have it featured on our show or be a guest. Until next time, keep connecting to the wild and see what develops. The views, opinions, and statements expressed by individuals during Wild Development Studio productions do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Wild Development Studio or its affiliates. Participation in any activities, expeditions, or adventures discussed or promoted during our content may involve inherent risks. It is strongly advised that individuals conduct thorough research, seek professional guidance, and take all necessary precautions before engaging in any such activities. Wild Development Studio, its representatives, or employees shall not be held responsible for any injury, loss, damage, accident, or unforeseen incident that may occur as a result of participating in activities inspired by or discussed in our content. By choosing to engage with our content or act upon any information provided, individuals do so at their own risk and discretion.